Well, I recently attended an online virtual business summit. Yes, it's 2020. And if I insert self-storage in front of business, it becomes a little more interesting. Let's talk about that. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Self-Storage Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in the self-storage business or who wants to grow their self-storage business, strategically do so in a way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And this online business summit was really interesting. And I like going to these things, getting outside of the storage industry, because very often we can just hear ourselves echoing the same things over and over again within the storage industry. So I like to get outside, take a fresh perspective, and then apply it to our industry. And as I attended this particular session, and the session was called The 3 Things That Every Business Needs to Grow Today, I couldn't help but think, there's a certain percent of the population that's physically lazy. They're just lazy. But most people are mentally lazy. And as I was thinking about what the essence of this business session was, if you're mentally lazy and you're in the storage business, what you learned in this session would be of very little value. So as we approach this, quote, new world, or as we approach the upcoming year, thinking new and differently is going to be what's really critical. Let me share with you the 3 things from this session that all businesses need to do in order to grow. 1 was know your customer. 2 was create an irresistible offer. And 3 was to exceed customer expectations. Now that sounds simple, doesn't it? But is it? Really? First, know your customer. Well, if you're watching this, you're in essence a customer of mine. You may not be a paying customer, but you're someone who consumes my content. Now, you're consuming my content digitally. Everything I produce, except for the book, I produce digitally. And even that sometimes is a digital content. Now, I didn't wake up learning how to market digital content. I'm in the real estate and the self-storage business. So I, in essence, had to learn a whole new business. So whatever traction I've received in this, quote, online space, I've done it through what I've learned. And one of the first things that was instilled in me years ago as I got in this space of supporting the small investor to get in the self-storage business was know your customer. In fact, the buzzword for that, at least back then when I got started, was avatar. Know your avatar. They used to tell you to design a perfect customer. Give that customer a name, an age, how many kids, what they do, what their goals are, what their fears are, what their dreams are. Do all that so you can speak to them directly. I've done whatever I've done, been as good as I've been in this space. And it's a very valid approach. It's somewhat limiting because customers really come in all shapes, sizes, races, with all types of backgrounds, cultural influences, economic influences. So it's really hard to create the perfect customer, and everything you do target to that customer, especially in the storage space, because you've got commercial customers, you've got all types of customers. If you want to know about your customer base, you can go to the SSA. They have all types of general publications, and that's a problem, in my opinion. It's good to see maybe what the average customer is, but you can't take the information from a national statistic on what a self-storage customer looks like and apply it to your self-storage facility. Hint, if you're in my market area competing with me, you can, that's fine. But if you're in any other market, it won't be of much help. Why? Well, because every sub-market is different. Let's talk about a tale of two sub-markets in the city that we have storage in. One sub-market, let's say, has an average income in the high 30s, low 40s. Yes, I know, I probably shouldn't be in that. That's another whole story. We got what I thought at the time sounded like a sweet deal. But regardless, I'm in a sub-market where the average income's in the high 30s, low 40s, same city, same quote market. Other part of town, we have another facility that's in the high 60s, low 70s. Those consumers, those customer bases act very differently. What drives a person to make a decision in the first market is different than what would drive someone to make a decision in the second market. In the first facility, the average length of stay is 9.43 months. In the second facility, the average length of stay is 24.37 months. The average value of a customer in facility one is approximately $1,000, and the average value of a customer in facility number two is $3,000. Rents are also very different from facility one to facility two. So there's really not a whole lot of similarities between the customer base of facility one and facility two in the same market. So if I create an ideal customer and try to market to that customer in both markets, it's going to fall flat on its face. That's where the critical thinking, that's where not being mentally lazy comes into play here. You've got to really look at what is the customer base at each facility. Don't go city by city, it's facility by facility. What is the customer base at each facility? What's driving them to make decisions? Well, you might say, well, what's driving them is they need space. That's not driving them. Needing space is not driving a decision for a customer to do business with you. Just like when I'm working with people getting in the self-storage business, making money is not a driver for someone getting in the self-storage business. Yeah, they think it is, but it's not. What the money provides, or what a person thinks the money is going to provide them, that's the driver. So in facility one, people right now need space at home because many of them in facility one are working from home, and they've got to work from home in order to feed their families, and what's driving them is their families. So we make sure in our marketing in facility number one, we're doing a lot. We're talking about family. We're talking about providing for your family, creating space for your family. We're using words that they're used to hearing around facility one. So a consumer, an ideal consumer in facility one doesn't have a lot of disposable income. So they've got to be real frugal and real smart with their dollars. So if we use words and phrases they're familiar with, like buy one, get one free, they hear I'm being a smart steward of my family's money. And we want them to interact with us, and we want to show up in a way that that person feels like their needs are being met by selecting our facility as opposed to another facility. It isn't that they need space. That's not the driver. Now, facility number two Some people are coming in because they need space, but we have a lot of people who have some very expensive toys that they store at our place. Now, the emotional driver there is very different than the emotional driver for an average consumer at Facility 1. They want to make sure that their toys that they worked hard to get and they've spent a lot of money on are at their disposal whenever they need it. It'll be exactly how they left it. It's very convenient to get in and get out. There's not a lot of obstacles they have to drive around to park their RVs and their boats. Very different emotional drivers. Both cases, people are making decisions emotionally. If you think that you are a logical decision maker, I invite you to consider again, every human being makes business decisions emotionally. We'll talk about that when we get to the second item. But don't just come up with an advertising campaign, apply it across all your facilities and think you're being effective. Get to know your ideal customer facility by facility. That's the critical thinking that needs to be done today. And the second item was come up with an irresistible offer. So we all know companies that have one offer, company-wide, nationwide, buy one, get your first month free, first month's $1. I'm sure those can be effective, but why wouldn't you design an irresistible offer facility by facility based on what the emotional drivers are, or that you can piece together for that consumer? In the session I was in, the person running the training said, come up with an offer that's so irresistible that the potential customer will feel like an idiot if they don't accept your offer. So if I'm marketing, for example, a course online and somebody really wants the course but is a little bit concerned, and I offer a money-back guarantee if they don't like it or feel like it met their needs, they have 30 days and we give them their money back, that takes the risk out of it. So if somebody's trying to learn what I have to offer and they get that the risk is taken out, why wouldn't they? Same, I'm not saying you offer a money-back guarantee in self-storage, but think it through critically. What are people really searching for? What's driving them? And then design your offers around that. So I've told you in Facility 1, for example, we're testing an offer called buy one, get one free. Well, because that hits the emotional driver of being a good steward for your money. Somebody needs storage, and they want to make sure they're making the right decision. They're used, and when they hear they buy one, get one free, takes a lot of the risk out for them. Now, we like it because we're not giving the free unit up front. We're actually getting money up front. Now, we'll spread that over 2 months if they need it, but I just don't want, I want somebody spending some money when they move in, because that supports our business, but it also supports the customer. What's an irresistible offer also changes. It's not just the same. Once you find something that works at a facility, nothing's handled, nothing's managed. It might work for a while, then we're going to have to come up with a new irresistible offer. What we were offering consumers in April of 2020 is not what we're offering them in November of 2020. So again, this requires some critical thinking, facility by facility. What would I need to offer based on what's going on in my submarket, what other people are offering, what our financial goals are, and what's driving the emotional decision making of the consumer in this market. Then design your offers around that. Again, all of this requires critical thinking. Mental laziness doesn't carry the day anymore, and testing. And then let's talk about the third thing, exceed customer expectation. I learned this in my mid-20s. That's how old I was when I read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And that was one of the principles that was hammered home to me in that book was always do more than you're paid for. Always attempt to exceed what's expected of you. Now that principle has never been more relevant than it is today. Let me tell you something. In my humble opinion, good customer service means nothing. If that's your claim to fame, in my humble opinion, it's a very weak claim to fame. Everybody touts good customer service. Good customer service is what's needed to get your horse into the gate. I'm from Kentucky and we do the Derby. Without good customer service, your horse doesn't even get in the gate. But once that gate opens, that good customer service means nothing. And especially today in the self-storage industry, as we are going more virtual, there's less human interaction, less ways for people to wow customers. How are you going to exceed customer expectation? That requires some critical thinking, doesn't it? When was the last time you were really wowed by a company? And when was the last time you dealt with a company that said they had good customer service? Are you wowed when you get a birthday card from your insurance agent? Are you wowed when you get a Christmas card from a real estate agent? Probably not. What would you do if you were moving into your unit on a hot summer day and an employee came by and dropped off a small cooler full of cold beverages for you? Or what if you're moving you've had a relative who's recently passed away and you're moving those goods into your unit and the manager sees that you have a lot of expensive paintings and makes a suggestion, why don't they get a maintenance person to build a rack to store those paintings for you so that they're not just leaning against each other and leaning against the wall and on the floor? Would that wow you? I mean, those are things our managers have actually done. Now, a lot of wowing the customer is a function of the culture that the owner creates. And we've been able to instill in our managers, or some of our managers, that that's the job, is to exceed customer expectation. Here are the resources you have to do it. Here's how much you can spend. And be thinking, what are ways that you can exceed customer expectation? Both of those are things that managers and companies I've been involved with have done, by the way. So I'm not trying to give you specific things. I'm trying to instill and discuss a way of thinking, a new approach to how to think about your storage business in the upcoming year, especially when there's going to be less and less human interaction. How can we exceed customer expectation? As Tony Robbins often says, the quality of your life is a function of the quality of the questions you ask yourself. And the quality of your business is a function of the quality of the questions you ask yourself. So these are just some of the questions we're asking ourselves today as we prepare for the next year in the self-storage business. Thanks for letting me share. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer, the financial analysis tool that we use. I invite you to learn more about it. StorageWorldAnalyzer.com, CreatingWealthThroughSelfStorage.com. The second one also has all of the free training that I offer. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week.